What's up? I'm back with another episode. So, if you don't know me, my name is Jeanette, also known as Ms.FitVegan, and today I am talking with my friend Lisa, and we're going to be talking about our best weight loss tips and tricks. Okay, so I'm going to try to say a few things that I didn't say earlier in my other live, because here's the thing. Over 80% of Americans are either overweight or obese. What's up, Lisa? And I love the name Lisa. That was my sister's name. So anyone named Lisa, I love. And we need to do something about this. Over 80% of the population is overweight or obese. Something's not working, and it's easier than you think. I mean, choose your hard, right? It's hard to be overweight and it's hard to change your habits. But me and Lisa are going to talk, and we're going to give you guys some of our story and our best tips and tricks. And I know Lisa has a new program that she's working on, so we're going to talk about that as well. And before I bring Lisa in, I just want to remind you guys that for the next 9 days only, I am offering something called the Ultimate Weight Loss Bundle. It is a collection of over 100 books, programs, courses, all by top leading experts on weight loss. Okay, so we have Chef AJ, High Carb Hannah, Raw Food Romance. We've got Dr. John McDougal, Dr. Neal Bernard, Robbie from Mastering Diabetes. We have got Nutmeg Notebooks. We've got Plantiful Kiki, Eat, Move, Rest. Honestly, so many more that I can say, right? Over 100 contributors. And we've got, Sexy Fit Vegan, who I'm doing a live with in a few days. And so, yeah, and including me as well. I have a 7-day meal plan, an introduction to the raw vegan lifestyle. Okay, so click the link in my bio. It's only available for 7 days. It's $49 for 105 weight loss, all plant-based courses, all oil-free, low-fat, and obviously focused on weight loss. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Okay, let me bring Lisa in. Sorry about that. Okay. So click the link in my bio. It's only available until March 2nd. So, hey, Lisa.
Hello.
Okay, I'm such a big fan, so thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, I'm excited. Been a while.
Okay, we're finally meeting virtually. We'll meet in person one day, too.
Yes.
And first of all, thank you so much for being here. I want to dive right into it. First of all, can you please tell my followers a little bit about yourself, what you do, and your history with weight loss?
All right. I'll try to sum it up in a really quick.
In 5 minutes.
So,
sorry.
I'll start off with, as Jeanette said, my name is Lisa, and I have been on this whole health and wellness journey for about, I'm going to say 20 years. I grew up in the South. I grew up in the dirty South. So
Here in Florida?
What's that?
You're from Florida?
I grew up in Florida. Once I turned 18, I moved to, I had a short stint in North Carolina, then I moved to California for many years. So about 5 years ago, I moved back to Florida.
Okay.
Six years ago. But I grew up here. How I tell people is I grew up in Florida, but I grew up in California. So, so basically, by growing up in Florida and coming from a traditional Southern family, it was all about fried food and just all the comfort foods, and I didn't even know that fresh vegetables existed, basically. If I had a vegetable, it was probably battered and fried.
Yeah.
So that kind of paints the picture of where I came from. So when I was let's see, right when I graduated from college, so at the age of 21, 22, I graduated college. I moved to California, and I moved to California with a really good friend of mine. And someone took a photo, and they weren't taking a photo of me. They were taking a photo, and I just happened to be facing away from the camera. So the image caught me from behind. And when I saw the image, I was like, that's not me. That's a big girl, and that's not me. and and so at that moment I realized that I was overweight. And so I stepped on the scale and realized how just out of touch I was with my body. And when I stepped on the scale, I was 143 pounds. And to give you a frame of reference, I am 4'11". So on a 4'11 frame, on a 4'11 frame, 143 pounds is a nice bit of weight. And so I realized it was time to get myself together. And that started my exploration in getting healthy and losing weight. And my first introduction to that was I went to the library. Back then, you actually went to the library. This was 20 years ago.
Smells not. It smells kind of musty.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I went to the library and I found this book called Eat More, Weigh Less. And it was by Dr. Dean Ornish. And I didn't know it was vegan. I just saw the words eat more, weigh less. And I was like, that sounds good. I was like,
Dream. That sounds like a dream.
right. So I was like, I'm going to do this. And I went home and had a roommate at the time, and I just emptied out the fridge of all the things that did not fall in line with that. And I remember my friend coming home and saying, hey, I will eat those things. You don't have to get rid of them. And so that started my journey of getting healthy and understanding what I needed to put into my body and how to be mindful of what I was eating and how that was affecting my health. In the process, I had high blood pressure and was pre-diabetic, and eliminated both of those issues. So it wasn't just about weight loss. It was also about helping to eliminate some of the health issues that I had.
Wow. I want to ask a quick question. So first of all, I think it's amazing that you remember the moment that you realized you just like were not in control of your health. I think that is so amazing that you can pinpoint that photo and you're just like, who is that? And then you made the connection. And then my question is, the day that you read the book, Eat More, Weigh Less, and then you were like, okay, I'm throwing everything away. But then it was a friend who said they will eat it, so you gave it to them, or you kept it in the house? Everything.
I kept it in the house because we were living together, and she was not interested in eliminating.
And the question to you is, how did that work out? Because I have a lot of people that ask me, or they tell me they can't get healthy because they're living with someone who's not healthy and the food is around. And so I'm curious, how did you not eat that food? How did you change your mindset, or like, how did you deal with the cravings and having the stuff around?
That's a really good question. At that time,
Yeah.
even to now, I'm a very headstrong person. So when I make a decision, it's all or nothing. Like, it's all or nothing. However, I have recognized, as now in more present time as I'm working with clients, you kind of have to meet people where they're at. And a lot of times that is one of the main barriers for people losing weight. And it's a challenge. But what I say is, a lot of my clients, I have them just compartmentalize. So for instance, if they live with a partner who is not changing their lifestyle, then I say, you know what, have one shelf in the fridge, that's your shelf, or one shelf in your cabinet, that's your shelf, or have designated areas that that's your go zone basically. And so while it's not the be all and end all, it's a nice compromise so that you can at least start to set parameters and set boundaries around what's going to be acceptable. Because if you don't kind of set up some sort of parameters, then it is really difficult. And ultimately, a person has to want it. You know, a lot of times I've found that when people use that as an excuse, they don't want health bad enough. You know, it kind of boils down to that.
Yeah, great point. Great point. We'll find an excuse or we'll get the results, you know? And so, okay, so you lost 30 pounds, I believe, correct? From your original, like your heaviest weight. And so, can you tell my followers how you eat now? What is like a typical day in the life of you as far as what you eat and how you lost that weight? Are you on the same lifestyle that you were to lose the weight?
Well, yes and no. So
Oh,
I have had a journey, right? Like we all have. I started out in the Eat More Weigh Less program. Basically was what would now be considered a vegan, low fat diet plan, for lack of a better word. So I was eating pretty much all cooked foods, but healthy vegan options with no meat substitutes, things like that. There really weren't much in
yeah.
that. Oh, then
What year did you change?
that was 2002.
Wow,
Yeah.
2002.
Yeah.
I went vegan in 2011. Well, 2010 vegetarian, and there was like tofuti, and that was like that was like it. And
Yeah. Yeah. So I went vegan. All there was basically tofurkey and a couple of things that I just wasn't interested in. So it wasn't even part of what I had to navigate really, you know? So,
and you
yeah,
that's a good thing. That is a very good thing, honestly. Right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I started out with, yeah, just a whole foods, vegan, plant-based diet. And about, let's see, in 2004 was when I went to a vegetarian festival in San Francisco. And it was amazing. I walked in and I was like, oh my goodness. And there was a table there that had some brochures on raw food. And I remember thinking like, this is interesting. But there was no one at the table. So I took the brochure, stuck it in my bag, and off I went. Well, when I got home and started, you know, when you go to festivals and things, you come home with a bag full of stuff. And I'm emptying it out and I look at this brochure and I was like, I'm gonna look into this whole raw food thing. It looks very interesting. And I came across Doug Graham. And at the time, there was going to be a festival in Northern California, and it was coming up pretty quickly. And so I ended up going to this, I forget what, I think at the time it was called Raw Stock, maybe something like that. So I went to this festival and I was like, wow, I can just eat fruit and feel good and this is a thing, you know, and it was, I felt great. I loved it. And by default, I was losing weight. I didn't even realize. And so that gave me this sense of like, I'm going to commit to this because I feel good. I love what I'm eating. And that's it. And I didn't care what anybody else was doing at the time. A lot of my friends and people that I was working with were like, all you're eating is fruit. Like, you know, and but it was amazing. And so fast forward, I ate a strictly raw food diet for about 15 years. And in the last couple of years, I've incorporated some cooked foods, just like steamed vegetables, things like that. But overall, my diet pretty much looks the same. And I would say the other difference is that now a lot of my produce, my husband and I, we're growing. So he has his garden, I have my garden. His garden is a lot bigger than mine. So our goal is to eventually, it's probably going to take some years, but to eventually just sustain off of what we grow. And so that's been the shift in my approach, is not just focused on eating a whole foods diet, but eating a self-sustained diet, because that's when you really are able to take control of your health. You don't have to worry about what are they putting into the food, what are they growing it with, what's it being fertilized with. And it, while that may sound a little like over the top, it really makes a difference in how we feel. And it goes beyond just weight loss. You know, you can really feel the difference when you grow your own food and you've got your hands in it, and you saw that grow from seed, and you've put your time, effort, and love into that food.
I can only imagine. Wow. I mean, because I've grown basil and I'm just like, wow, you know, it's so magical, and that's the dream for a lot of people watching probably as well. Let us know in the comments if that's one of your dreams, to actually be able to grow your own food. And what you said, I mean, I want to unpack a few things. Number one, I want to talk about, first of all, being eating a raw vegan diet for 15 years. That's pretty rare. And so I'm curious as to why do you added in some cooked veggies, and do you eat other just cooked veggies, or do you eat grains? And I want to know why. Was it for variety or health reasons, or what was the reason?
Yeah. To be honest, I was very purist for a very long time. And I found that in the last couple years that I was very purist about it. Like some other people that I know that long-term raw food, my hair was thinning, and that was one of the major things that I was dealing with. And I started not to feel as good. I felt like there was something that I wasn't getting, and I didn't want to attribute it to being a raw foodist, but I knew that by default, a lot of what was happening is we don't have the quality of food that we used to have. So even if you're eating a raw food diet, while it's way better than a lot of what people are eating, you can become deficient if you're not careful. And so I made the choice that I would incorporate other things that maybe I wouldn't have eaten raw. And if it meant I would steam something and get a little more nutrient base, I was okay with that. And so I have at times incorporated some grains, but not really. It's not something that I feel is necessary. I wouldn't say I'm against grains per se, but they don't really work well for me. So I have this attitude of I'm always open to what's going to lead me to feeling my healthiest, happiest self.
I love it. I love it. What serves you? And, I totally 100% agree with what you just said. And so you eat just a plant exclusive diet, I'm guessing, just fruit and vegetables, maybe sometimes steamed or baked or whatever. But yeah, fruit and vegetables, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. So I would agree that I personally have found that to be the healthiest diet on the planet for me and a lot of people that I talk to. And it's like you can be healthy eating other things, of course, but we know the healthiest food on earth, right? Like we just know it. And I'm curious your opinion. I just wanted to ask someone who has as much experience as you do. What is your thoughts on some people say we've evolved to eat a softer diet, meaning cooked food, like our jaws have evolved, and that's why raw food is not sustainable, some people say, for a very long amount of time. Have you ever heard this research? And do you think it's possible for somebody to eat raw for their entire life and not be deficient and have like really good health? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's possible. Um, I haven't heard what you were saying about the jaw and the softer food thing. I don't know that I would necessarily agree with it per se. But not to say that it's right or wrong. I don't have the research. Um, but I do find that what I've come to in the last couple years, because of having eaten raw for so long, I feel like I'm in a good place to have an opinion, but I will preface that and say it's my opinion. I won't say it's fact, because ultimately we don't know. We're all figuring it out as we go through life. I do feel like myself, and maybe a lot of other people that tend to eat raw, we feel really good, right? You start eating raw and you feel amazing, and it's awesome. But is it sustainable for a lifetime, and not eating anything cooked, or incorporating whatever, fill in the blank? I don't really know. None of us really know. A lot of people will say that, it's the ultimate diet for the rest of your life, but I do think that there are people that it is optimal for their whole life, right? And they'll be fine and thrive. But I do think there are people that, depending on what they have going on in their body, what their biology is, maybe it's not ideal for their whole life. I will say that it's ideal for large periods of time. It's ideal to deal with food issues, food sensitivities, emotional eating, losing weight, really gaining control of the things that we all have tended to deal with over the course of our lives. I think it's a very healing diet approach. But I'm also very much an advocate of telling people, like, hey, if you want to eat raw for 60 days and then do whatever approach for a little while and then come back to it, who's to judge? Because I think that a lot of times people do get a little purist, and then they feel bad for choosing something else when it's their choice. Ultimately, I feel like every person should, if you're being completely honest with yourself, eat in a way that ultimately is going to set you up to achieve the goals of what you have, feeling healthy, happy, vibrant, whatever that looks like, you know?
I love that. And I love that so much because it's so hard to know what is the truth out there because, people, the most popular people in this community are saying stuff because it's their brand mostly, and they have to sell that brand. They have to continue, selling those books and doing that YouTube channel. And it's hard to know if they're really feeling amazing or if they're really eating the way they say they're eating, and if it is working for them and if it's going to work for us. And so it's hard to know the truth. And I think what you just said is what it really is. The truth is it's different for everyone, right? And maybe it works for some people, but like you said, you felt like it wasn't exactly working so like fully for you, and you wanted to incorporate some like cooked or steamed veggies. And it's just like, we need to understand that like vegetables, whether they're raw or steamed, this is like the healthiest food on the planet.
Exactly.
We don't need to focus on raw, we need to focus on health.
Yep.
And so we do have a few questions real quick because I want to get your like top tips on weight loss and fitness, because I know you're a coach and a trainer as well, and you're super fit. Guys, everybody, if you're not following Lisa, go follow her. She's super fit, okay? And goals, 100% goals. And now, how do you protect your teeth, Lisa, from eating so much raw foods, or like, teeth health? Have you ever had any issues with your teeth, and how do you protect them?
That's an excellent question. I did notice over time that my teeth weren't as strong. I didn't have major issues. Like, I know some people have had some major issues. I think a lot of that comes from eating too much dried fruits and concentrated fruit, like dates and things like that, which I love. um, it's just important to have dental hygiene. So brush your teeth.
Brush your teeth, Blinky fan. No, just kidding. But yeah, is what did me in, the dried mangoes. I was a big dried fruit person because I lived in New York City as a raw vegan for 9 years, and it's not the healthiest place to live. And so, yeah, I destroyed my teeth personally, but I'm building them back up. And one more question real quick. I mean, we do have a bunch, but I want to ask about weight loss. Question, how do you feel about legumes? Do you eat them ever? Do you recommend them to people to lose weight? How do you feel about legumes?
That's a good question. I have experimented with legumes because one of the first things that I thought might need to be incorporated into my diet when I started to kind of feel like something's missing, I thought maybe it's legumes. And my husband and I, we both eat very similarly. To the average person, it looks like we eat the same for all for all purposes. And so we both, like, we talk about, where we are at different stages of how do you feel? How do you feel with what we're doing now? And so, yeah, a couple years ago when we started to kind of shift our diet, legumes was the first thing that we started to play around with. I personally do not respond very well to legumes, and a lot of that has to do with digestion. I have battled irritable bowel syndrome for a long time, and so I find that legumes don't really do well for me. I can handle lentils in very small amounts, but ultimately they don't really do well for me personally. I can't say that I'm a huge fan of legumes because I think that the majority of people, whether they realize it or not, do have issues with them. If you're familiar with the whole concept of lectins, a lot of us do not tolerate lectins very well. So do I think they're necessary? No.
Okay, concise answer. There you go, guys. And again, if they serve you, then they serve you, and that's part of your healthy vegan lifestyle, right? I agree. Also, I tried eating like black beans. It was so different from my digestion on like salads and fruit that like I noticed it right away, and I was like, oh no, what is going on here? Like, this does not feel the same. So yeah, we did have a question I want to get to because they wrote it in the question part. So thank you for that, Nandi. A question, how do you handle cooked food cravings, especially when others around me are eating healthy, whole food, plant-based, cooked vegan? Oh, I see what she's saying. I guess she wants to stay raw and her people around her are eating healthy, whole foods, cooked vegan, but she doesn't want to eat that. How do you deal with the cravings there? Okay, I will say, and then I'll ask Lisa's opinion. Why do you want to, what is your reason that you want to stay 100% raw, right? Because it seems like you might feel like you're missing out. And if you feel like you're missing out, then you need to reevaluate, right? Why you're eating that way and why you're depriving yourself. Because we shouldn't feel deprived. Oh, so I am right. Yes. Okay. So you want to stay raw. Well, first of all, you're going to have to get enough calories in. If you are not eating high quality tropical fruit, really good tasting stuff, you're gonna feel deprived. If you're just eating apples, bananas, and seedless grapes, and you see other people eating delicious, like whole foods, plant-based cooked food, that's gonna be a problem right there. I would personally lower your expectations of what is healthy. I would say there can be absolutely cooked food in your diet as long as it's whole foods, plant-based, oil-free, salt-free, right? Really healthy stuff. And I would eat that if you want it. Now, if they're eating like processed food, no. Like obviously, we know what's healthy, what's not healthy. But yeah, either if you want to stay raw, you got to get really high quality fruit and enough of it and a variety, a large variety, so you feel really good. Find some new recipes. You can click the link in my bio, by the way. We have over 1,000 new whole foods, plant-based, oil-free, low-fat recipes in the weight loss bundle. So click that, over 1,000 recipes. And yeah, Lisa, what is your opinion on that?
I have gotten that exact question from a number of clients over the years. And my first question, because as we've said, I was strictly raw for a very long time. It's very easy to get really controlled by the label and want to be able to say I'm raw, yeah. Right? And I think that it's really important to really evaluate your reason for eating raw, because it's great and it's awesome. And I 100% support anyone who wants to eat 100% raw, but really evaluate why you're eating raw. Because if you're just doing it for the label, then you're demonizing other foods that don't need to be demonized. You know, it's not a bad thing to eat some steamed vegetables or some cooked sweet potatoes, you know, and I know there's plenty of, you know, people that would argue that point with me, like, oh, it's, you know, it's bad. However, it's real food, you know, and it's a better option than a lot of the stuff you're going to find on the shelves in the middle of the grocery store.
Or as part of the raw food diet, okay? Like a thing of cashew butter, okay? Or some freshly steamed kale. Like, which one is going to make you feel better, help you with weight loss, and make your skin clear and make you like sleep better? Which one is going to hurt you? Which one's going to... The cashews are raw vegan. The kale is way healthier, steamed or sauteed or with some spices on. You know, like, let's just calm down with the ego. Wants us to label and be a part of, you know, we all want, I think a big thing, Lisa, and let me know if you agree, it's a community thing, right? Like, you want to be part of the raw food community. And like, listen, so many raw foodists, like the popular ones, aren't even eating what they say. I guarantee it. I guarantee it that they aren't eating perfect, because there's no such thing. And they might have some healthy cooked food or even some junk food or even some oil sometimes or whatever, but they're just not promoting it, right? And they're not 100% perfect. They don't eat 100% organic. That's not possible all the time. And so what you need to do is what Lisa just said. You've got to figure out what serves you and why you're doing it, and realize that we're not here to impress anyone. We're here to be our healthiest, best version, look our best, feel our best, and do our best, and help other people do that as well. And so, sorry to cut you off, Lisa. I just had to get that out because I hear the same question. I used to be one of those people like you as well, so we have a lot in common. I used to be a purist. Everything had to be 100% raw and 100% organic for so long, and now I wish that I could go back and like just like tap myself on the head and be like, Jeanette, are you trying to be raw or are you trying to be healthy? Because I would get this raw chocolate bar. It was called Fine and Raw, and they were like Kit Kats. And so I'd break it and I would dip it in cashew butter and I would eat that all night. And I'm like, I'm healthy. I'm a raw foodist. Now, if I want to have a sweet potato or like a steamed, like something steamed in my salad because I'm feeling like extra hungry or I just want something more than I have, then I will do that and I won't feel bad about it at all. I'm eating fruit and vegetables. Like, are we crazy? So yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, and that's exactly it. It's like it's really important, and I know firsthand that a lot of the top people in the raw food movement are not eating what they say they are. I keep my lips sealed.
Everyone knows each other, you know, and word gets out, and it's just like not possible to be perfect. It doesn't work, but you can be healthy. I mean, look at how long Lisa has been healthy for so long, you know? And wait, I know we're not supposed to ask women their age, whatever. Can we ask how old you are? Because I cannot tell because you're young.
I'm okay with telling my age, but I would like to hear how old you think I am.
I mean, it's tough because you told me your story and you're like 20 years in the game, and I'm just like, I don't know. You look like you're in your 30s, but I have a feeling you might be.
I just turned 44.
Yeah, yeah, wow. 44. Ridiculous. That's crazy. And so now, real quick, because I don't want to, I could talk to you all day, I could tell. So now, you is what would you, first of all, I know you're a trainer, so you're very fit and you obviously exercise consistently, right? Like you can't look the way you look and not. So now my question to you is, what do you tell your clients when they ask your advice on how to stick to an exercise routine? I believe a big part of losing weight is exercise. Like, I don't think it's possible, right? I'm sure you would agree, to get your dream body without moving your body, right? Without exercise. And so how can people stay consistent, start and continue on a exercise routine?
That's a good question. So to piggyback on what you said, no, it's not possible to get your dream body without exercise. It is possible to lose weight without exercising. However, how you will look when you lose weight without exercise is not what most people think. So it is important to combine the two, and let exercise support your nutrition, because a lot of times what I have found with clients, that approach me, they think that they can out train their diet, and that's a really big issue, because a lot of times people don't realize you got to do a lot of work to mitigate eating bad food, right? Like, one of the things that I tell people, just as a to give people an idea, is if you eat a Big Mac, right? You've got to get on a stair mill for over an hour just to somewhat mitigate the calories that you just input, right? And that's not even talking about the health
Right.
stuff. That's just
Look, right.
strictly calories, right? You got to be on a stair mill over an hour. And I don't know anybody that's eating Big Macs that's going to do the work that to mitigate the Big Mac, right? So with that said, I I tend to, when, and my approach has changed over the years. Where I am now with how I approach clients is I apply a gentle approach. And what that means is most of my clients that start out with me, I only require them, and require is a loose word, but if they come to me, they're wanting accountability, they're wanting help with consistency, right? So I require workout 3 days a week. And a lot of times people are like, but I want to get there fast. I can work out 5 days or 6 days. And I'm like, no, three, just three. Because if you can't get consistent with 3 days for 4 weeks, there's no way you can do five. You can do five for a week and then fall off and, but until you can get consistent with 3 days, then there's no need to move forward with that. And so what I have my clients do is a very moderate approach to exercise, a gentle approach. I don't get crazy. I no longer do crazy workouts. My workouts have changed compared to what they used to be. I'm 44. I'm realizing that the body doesn't bounce back off the pavement like it does when you're, in your 20s, right? And so that has helped me to have a more gentle approach, to focus more on consistency versus intensity. And so I think that exercise, to kind of talk about what you were just asking, I think exercise supports a healthy diet. And so as long as a person's priority is eating healthy, then exercise is just a bonus. And that's what it should be. The exercise is kind of like the icing on the cake, if you will. It's where you really fine tune your body and really feel good, because exercise alone is not going to do it.
Yeah, there you go. And guys, check out her page. You'll see she knows what she's talking about. Okay, and it's funny to hear somebody like you who's so fit to say, okay, we really need to start with 3 days a week. You see, because if you can't start with 3, you'll never get there. You'll never get the body that you dream of, that you really want. And okay, so can you just take us a day in the life of what you eat right now to maintain your 30-pound weight loss?
Yeah. So for me, let's
Abs and crazy gut. Can we just see a little bit of the
on my arms. Let's see.
my baby arms? Honestly, have serious muscle tone, and a lot of people feel like that's not possible eating the way you do. So how do you exactly eat now to maintain this kind of muscle tone?
Yeah, so I'll be honest, right now I am actually doing a water fast, and so I'm not eating at all at the moment, and I generally don't publicize that, because there's a whole lot of, stuff around that. However, I fast because, and this is separate from weight loss, but I fast because I really like to mitigate the environmental effects on my body over the course of a year. So once a year, I usually do kind of a fast to just get rid of any stuff, basically. But when I'm not fasting, let's see. For breakfast, it depends. It depends on the season, but in my ideal scenario, I like some sort of melon for breakfast. So whether it's cantaloupe, or we tend to grow heirloom melons, so they're usually like the smaller size melons. So uh, I won't get into that, but usually smaller size melons. So that's usually my ideal breakfast. And I do, for the most part, I intermittent fast. So I don't usually eat till usually around 11, somewhere in there. That will be my breakfast. Later in the day, I will have, depending on what's on hand, a lot of times my go-to is grapes, because I love grapes. I'm also I'm also prone to eat big salads for lunch, and I'm very much a salad person, so I love salads.
So
Um,
I don't want to cut you off, but so you're more of a savory person, you would say?
in the more recent years, yeah, which is weird. I didn't used to be. I used to be very much a sugar sweet kind of person.
I asked because we got another question, but I didn't want to interrupt you. What do you do about salt cravings? So, you eat, I'm guessing, and let me know if I'm right. When you're craving salt, you eat savory salads, maybe some seaweed in there, maybe some savory dressing. So that is what you do for salty cravings.
Celery's a big one, and a lot of times people go celery. Um, Juice. I make about a gallon of juice every morning.
What?
Um, yeah, yeah.
Your husband?
What's that?
For you and your husband, or for just you?
So I usually have about what's my thermos? I think my thermos is about 30 ounces, and then the rest is my husband's. He drinks over the course of the day like 3/4 of a gallon of fresh juice. And so that's a big part of just our daily routine, does not fluctuate. And that's usually a celery base. So it gives a lot of that kind of salty, savory thing. And we keep a lot of celery on hand. But if a person's not into celery juice or eating celery, because I get that from people a lot, is you can make, like, for instance, salad dressings using celery as the base, which you wouldn't intuitively think you could, but celery as your base for a lot of things, or seaweed, definitely helps with that savoriness that you can get.
So for you, it's like juice, melon, salad, salad.
Um, yes, for the most part, but I'm also very much into pineapples, and I'm so excited because right now I'm like looking out the window. My husband has a whole like little area of he's growing me pineapples, and and if I have pineapples every day of my life, I would. So sometimes my dinner is a pineapple cut up, to be honest. It really just depends. Like I I don't follow the whole like fruit for breakfast, fruit for lunch, salad for dinner. A lot of times my salad is midday, like my lunch, and I may have fruit for dinner. So it really just depends. If I have steamed vegetables, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, like if I'm gonna have sweet potatoes or anything like that, I will have my salad for dinner because then I'll add that on top of the salad. So I'll have sometimes like steamed green beans and sweet potato mixed into the salad, and that would usually be at dinner time.
Yeah. So, by the way, pineapples, they say the most cleansing fruit on earth. Pineapples, they say.
That's that's how I started eating them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, is because I found that when I was eating pineapple, I just, not to get too TMI, but my digestion was was at its best. And I mean, there was a point in my journey where I would eat easily 2 pineapples a day, like no problem.
And another thing we have to just mention, because we're talking about pineapples, guys, you've got to know how to tell when pineapples are ripe. Pineapples are one of those fruits which I love. Lisa, I love the fruits that you cannot eat unless they are truly ripe. Persimmons, pineapples, I'm sure there's more, but I can't think of it. All those real fruits,
Yeah.
okay? And so the non-hybridized fruits. So you might be able to open them, but like, are they ripe? Because if you're telling yourself like, what? I couldn't eat 2 pineapples a day. I could barely eat a few bites and then it burns my tongue. Well, that was not ripe. So please educate yourself. I have a whole tutorial, like a whole playlist on YouTube, guys, of all the fruits, how to know when every single thing is ripe. Is really, really important. And they don't teach us this stuff in school. And, we could do a whole nother hour one other day, which I'd love to do with you. I love talking to you because you're really knowledgeable on like fruits, how to know when they're ripe, and why we don't learn this important stuff. Like, why don't we learn what we really need to know to survive, and or thrive. I'm sorry, to thrive, because we can survive. That's what they teach us to do, right? They teach us to just barely survive. So, we're eating foods that we can still function because the body's just absolutely incredible, but that comes with health issues and constant, in the real world, which we both don't live in, the real world, people are constantly getting sick and having to be rushed to the emergency room and taking lots of medications and be overweight and dealing with like IBS, like you said you used to deal with, and all these issues. My good friend Sherry says, did she mention the dressing? Oh my God, Sherry is a psychic. Okay, my friend Sherry literally read my mind. I've been wanting to ask you for like 10 minutes, what is your go-to dressing for your salads? And Sherry asked.
It changes, and it changes based on what I'm doing, or what I have on hand. I'll say this. My salad dressing game really changed because of Lissa from Raw Food Romance. She changed the game for me because prior to, I bought one of her books at one point, and
Is that the dips and dressings one?
it was prior to buying that. I have that one as well, but it was one of her other books that she had some recipes. And prior to that, I was a very boring, like tomato, mango, herbs and spices, still good, right? But she has really kind of opened a door, and now I don't follow her recipes. I kind of, I learned from a lot of what she does, and now I do my own thing. But I really love incorporating the savoriness, and now I don't crave as much the sweeter dressings. I used to use a lot of more sweet dressings, whereas now I have more savory. So a lot of times my base will be something like celery, let's see, zucchini with, sometimes I'll add miso. And I know not everybody agrees with miso, but sometimes I'll use miso and just some herbs and spices, and just play and layer. Be willing to be like, this sucks, and and start the next day and try another combination. It's fun to play with different combinations to make dressings.
So I've never had miso. I'm curious, like, is there a brand you recommend that you really like? And is the miso what makes it thick?
It's not what makes it thick, but it gives it a flavor profile that's really, it just works really well. And unfortunately, I can't think of the brand. You can find it at most like Whole Foods, and stores like that. But it's in like a little tub, and you can usually get either chickpea. I tend to get the chickpea miso, which, and I said earlier how I have kind of an intolerance to legumes. It's the one area where I do tolerate it well, and I think maybe because of the fermentation process. So even if somebody isn't into legumes, chickpea miso is a very good alternative to adding to dressing. It changes the game.
I'm gonna look into this and see, like, can I make my own? I don't even know how.
I
Never.
so I think I would think so. To be honest, I have not looked into how that
I
would.
attempt that. I don't know why I said that. I just like sometimes try to say things that I don't mean. But I the chickpea miso, because yeah, that's really interesting, and I've never tried it. And I know John Kohler uh, incorporates miso into his diet. Oh, Miso Master is a good brand, Sherry said. So there you go. And yeah, I want to try that. Okay, two last questions, and then I will let you go. So I want to just wrap up the weight loss topic. I want to know what is your advice that you would give to someone who has been eating healthy, who works out, who is just like still struggling with their weight, even though they seem to be doing everything right. I hear this all the time from people. I'm eating healthy, I'm working out, I still can't lose the last, 10, 15, or even 20 pounds or more, and I don't know what's wrong. So what would you guess or say to people like this?
I get that all the time. So 90% of the time, I tell the person to get really, really, really honest with themselves.
Mm.
90% of the time, we're just not being completely honest with what we're actually doing to get towards that goal. And so one of the first things that I have clients do is keep a 3-day journal And I say only 3 days, because after that it's kind of counterproductive. 3 days, don't try to be good for the sake of the journal, but for 3 days, write down everything that goes in your mouth, include liquid, right? And be as specific as possible, and also what kind of movement is involved in your day. 90% of the time, we find the answer within that diary. Like, it's very rare that, because it is possible, sometimes people have imbalances hormonally, or just issues health wise that keep them from getting to their optimal weight. There's also the area of, sometimes your body is not designed to be as skinny or as at this certain number that you think is ideal, right? So it's really, for the most part, about being honest with yourself.
I love that advice, Lisa. You could tell you have a lot of experience, clearly training people, coaching people, and can you, I know you have a new program. Can you, or you're working on a new program, can you talk about that a little bit, and let everybody know what's it about, when it's going to be out, and who should sign up to be a part of it?
So the new program that I'm doing is called Who Am I Becoming? And it was really inspired by some of my clients, and also some people that follow me on Instagram, because a lot of times people will message me and say, I want to get healthy, I want to get fit, but I don't want to do all those crazy workouts that you do, right? And so a lot of times that misconception is that they have to do extreme workouts or eat an extreme diet. And what I have learned over the years is that, and what I incorporate for myself that sometimes people don't realize, is that you can achieve your goals with a gentle approach. And so what I am doing in this program, and it starts on Sunday actually, is 4 days of working with women to have a gentle approach. So it's going to be 45-minute sessions, and it's a group session on Zoom. And half of that session will be working on the beliefs that hold us back, because that's the biggest part, right? It's not, I mean, we all know how to eat healthy. We all know it's good to work out, but we all have these things and these barriers and beliefs that we've had since childhood, basically. And sometimes we just don't realize it. And so I've been doing a lot of work with healing, just, and subconscious reprogramming, basically. And so I'm incorporating that into the course, along with a 20 to 25-minute yoga practice, just to show people that maybe have never done a yoga practice or never done breath work, never meditated before, to show them that there's a way that you can get where you want to be, just by working on your mindset and working through the beliefs that hold you back. And that's what this program is about. It's about showing women a gentle approach to getting on track and learning consistency, and not feeling like they have to be fit to get started, or have or show up at a certain place, because there's so many people that are like, oh, I've got to get to this point before I start. And this program is about, no, you show up and we work through the beliefs together in a supportive environment that allow us to really get there and see it as a journey, not as like a sprint to the finish, but as a lifelong journey. And that's what it's about. And I do have the link to sign up in my bio. And people can ask questions, send me a message, or you can send a comment below if you have questions about it.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So everybody watching, if that resonated with you, please go to Lisa's page and ask her more questions about it, and see if it might provide some value and real change in your life. And last question, I promise, last question is, okay, so if you could tell everyone in the entire world one thing, what would you tell them?
Ooh.
It would be into all languages. What message would you give to everyone in the world?
I would say this. I came across, and I don't remember how, but recently I'm kind of shifting this because it's written right here. I had to write this down. Um, this pretty much sums it up, this quote. And it's, your new life is going to cost you your old life. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. That thank you so much. You know what? That is just such a good way to end this because everybody wants change, but they don't want to change. And it's just like, guys, you're not going to ever get anything new by doing what you've always done. There's no way. Like, there's no way. You're going to have to change, and it's going to be a little hard. But like we said at the top of the hour, you get to choose your heart in this life. You can choose the heart of being unhappy, overweight, or having acne, or feeling sick all the time, or dealing with IBS, or whatever. Or you can choose your heart of change, because change is hard. But the crazy thing is, Lisa, it gets easier. And especially if you have a coach like you, and you have guidance, and you're part of a course and part of a group where you meet other people going through it too, because that's the main reason why I joined courses, is to meet other people. So I have a community of people that I can lean on and be like, hey, this is hard. Is it hard for you? Oh, okay. It's supposed to be. Okay. Because it is, and then it gets easier and easier and easier. Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. I love talking to you. I knew that I would. I just knew I love anybody named Lisa, and also you can feel your good energy through the screen, through this little. I could feel it, and so I thank you so much. I would love to speak to you again whenever you're available. And everybody, go follow Lisa, and I'll put all her links below. And yeah, have a beautiful, blessed day, and I will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you again.
Bye.